thank you for having us for the IT Squad. My name is Karen, and now my colleague is Charles and Max. Today, what we want you to imagine is Jane, a typical single resident. She has her island pass. Now, what she usually uses it for is to access the park. She's wondering this year if she should renew it. Is it worth her bargain? Now, considering that she only sees on her entry, she's thinking not so much. Now imagine saying Jane, what she knows are all the perks that come with that pass. The discounts, the exclusivity, everything that implies. Imagine on top of that, that Jane also has an interactive app, the My Sentosa app, not just for information, but also available for itineraries, special, unique information created just for her. This is what we want to do. Basically, we know that on Sentosa Island, visitors are split in half. Half of them visit from locals, half of them are tourists. What we can bank on are the locals. Locals we have a better chance of having them come visit more often. We also know what the typical Singaporean is. Like, they enjoy shopping, they enjoy discounts, they enjoy to surf the web. What we also know is that they use their mobile phones often. There are more mobile phones available than there are actual residents in Singapore. They use their smartphone on top of it for social media. We can use that information. Now, what we want to do from today until 5 years from now, knowing very well that telecommunications 5 years from now will probably change, what we want to do is take a certain approach and take us to that 5-year span. Now, our main thing is the customer behavior. A happy customer tends to visit more often, tends to spend more. Sentosa Island is happy, the partners are happy, we get more information collected, we can offer a better service, we come back to a happier customer. Now, first off, let's address the main issues with the situation.
Thank you, Karen. So the current main issues are that there's a high turnover rate and that there's only 2% of Singaporeans that have an island pass. The question here is that we should ask is why there is some issues like those one. The main thing here is that because they don't know that all they can procure with that card, the only thing that they can access the Sentosa Island park. Moreover, they think that Sentosa Island is quite expensive because they have to go through many ticketing booths. So in all, they think that there's no good value for their money. There's two main, in the short term, there's two main solutions that we should do. The first one, we should do a targeted mass marketing plan. So we should use the mediums that are already in place in order to pass the message to have a 8-year island pass. For example, Jane's friend walks in the Sentosa beach station. She sees on the LCD screen that this question: you come here often? Ask about your island pass. So now she's fully aware that it exists, and she must ask or go online to check what she can get from this pass. The second solution should be a really good social media campaign. Sentosa is already on all over social media, such as on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. However, they don't have many likes, they don't have many views, they don't have any followers. For example, in Facebook page, we can see that Sentosa last post was 1 year ago. What we need to do is that we need to increase the awareness and by doing a social media campaign. Social media is quick, effective, and it's cheap. So we can reach a lot of people with that, and we can generate a buzz. For example, we can have a Facebook contest. However, switching this focus on the advertisement campaign might be a little bit risky. So we have to think about change management, because there's already some people in place that are making these advertisements. We want to make sure that they understand well what we're going through. So the main thing here is that we have to explain the main goal. For example, we should tell them that within the next year we should reach 100,000 followers on the Facebook page. And then we should also add some incentives. that will help them to achieve these goals. What Sentosa can get from there? You can get a lot of more revenues by selling more than in the past, and you also can get more, a little better awareness, and you can lower their turnover rates. The budget and the risk are quite low because we are using the same methods that are already in place, and we're not changing the business now. So we now saw that what is in it for me, which is for Sentosa Leisure Group. Let's now see what is it for we, for all the partners of Sentosa Leisure Group. So first of all, the government will gain some tourist, some Singaporean touristic information of that. Then the local partners, which are, for example, the World Resort Sentosa, will gain a lot more revenue and visibility. And finally, the customers will gain a bit more for their money. Let's now see on the long run what's going on with Max.
Thank you, Charles. So we want to put the customer right in the middle of the situation at Sentosa. We want them to be to live a unique experience, and to do that, we're going to use data analytics. Actually, we want to know what the customers are doing in the park. So what do we need? Well, we already have some of the data. We have their regular demographics, but that's not enough for what we want to do. We have our age, that's good. We have their gender and so on and so forth. But what we really want to do is knowing where they are, what they're doing, if they're doing rides, if they're taking the transit to go there. These are things that are feasible. But now the question is, how are we going to get good quality data? Right now we have a problem of a duplication of data. There are several customer databases for different use, and also we want to make sure that the data that we gather is actually valuable. So to get that valuable data, we recommend to use a mobile phone, a smartphone app, and a system that is called Live Labs that is developed here at the Singapore Management University, so that we get information about the behavior of the customer on site, as well as his whereabouts and what he's doing and the way he uses the services. What are the technical issues for that? Well, first of all, as I said, there is no central database. There's several ones for different services, but there's already a CRM that is used for the Islander Pass. Why not use the CRM to centralize all the information about our customers, whether they are My Sentosa profiles from their smartphones or newsletters subscriptions? The other problem is that the tax system is not linked with the CRM. Therefore, we cannot know where the customers are. And finally, the front end, wireless infrastructure is not completely suitable for that. The CRM, as I said, needs to be changed a little bit to fit the new structure, and the front ends have to be adapted as well. Then for the tax, well, as I said, it's very central in the operations of the park. This is what decides who has access to what. Therefore, if we link it with the CRM, we can not only know what Pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 did, we can know what Jane Doe did, what attraction she visited, and so on and so forth. And therefore, as soon as it's ready, we can use it to do targeted promotions. For example, if Jane went up the Merlion 2 times, why not offer her a 50% discount to go up the Tiger Tower? Maybe she likes observation deck. That's a possibility. And finally, for the Wi-Fi, well, as I said, Live Labs works fine to position people and to give information about their behavior, but it requires Wi-Fi to get as precise as possible. Right now, Sentosa only is covered by, for about 40% of its public areas by Wi-Fi from WirelessNet SG. Now we want to extend that to the whole public areas of the park. Normally, such a project would cost about $300,000 alone for the infrastructure for the network. But the Singapore government has a program through the IDA which actually supports applications like this one that use data collection. It actually goes towards the direction that the tourism department wants to take as well, how to make the visitor feel unique and have a unique experience in Singapore as well as in Sentosa. So here's the big picture. Here's the big picture. Whatever is in red here is our components that need to be changed. But for the rest, they're actually using pretty much the what is existing already at Sentosa. Without further ado, let's have a look at the budget and risk associated with Charles.
Thank you, Max. So what Sentosa can get from this old project is that you can add targeted marketing. There's two main risks here. The first risk will be to modifying the tax system. However, because we're still working on the same base that we already have the tax system, there's a low risk here. The second risk is that you're using the live labs application, because this is all brand new, so we might get some more risky there. However, there's other big partners and other big companies that are thinking of using this new app, such as Changi Airport. So we might think that it's quite moderate low here, the risk here, sorry. And finally, the budget of this project will cost about, including the Wi-Fi fees, will cost about $735,000. And so once again, we saw what's in it for me, and what is now what's in it for we on the long-term run. The main thing that we're going to gain new infrastructures. Once again, the on-site partner will gain a lot more revenues and visibility, and the visitors can get a fully and unique experience in Sentosa Island. Let's now see the vision for 3 to 5 years now.
Thank you. Now, in the long run, what we need to picture is a better knowing of the customer, knowing their behavior. In the big run, not only can we separate them from the locals and the visitors, we can segment them into what type of people they are. Families, young adults, wealthier people. Knowing with the data we've collected, we can target even more what they enjoy, the activities they do, how they spend their money actually. That being said, developing stronger partnerships with the partners on Sentosa Island also will procure a better service in general for the customer. On another hand, what we can also offer, knowing from tourists mainly come from outside of Asia, from Asia but not Singapore, we can use social media more specific to them, like Quickly and Weibo, in order to target them as well. Now, in general, we know our main focus is the customer. In short, we can say,
know exactly what Sentosa is all about.
Create your own Sentosa experience.
Enjoy Sentosa Island. Thank you. If you have any questions, please answer.
Thank you for your presentation. My question will be, you have spoken about integrating tax and CRM, but in tax, there is no customer data that is getting collected. So what data are you going to put in CRM?
Using the RFID actually and the Islander Pass, we understood that the Islander Pass was an RFID card as well that allows access. Therefore, we can start by using this to get information about what the customers are doing. Of course, it only says the number of the pass in CRM right now, in tax. So what we want to do is really get that to the next level, and while connecting it with the CRM, we can know what our what our pass holders did, and therefore try to target the marketing a little bit closer than it's done right now.
And what about the objective of increasing the membership 2 times in 6 months? How are you achieving that?
Basically, what our target is with social media and ad campaigns, targeting, knowing what they like, and focusing more on the way they spend their money. Like, let's say Singaporeans like to eat out at the restaurant and they like to party. Now, if we focus our promotions on something like that, near food courts, or when they enter, oh, do you have the opportunity pass? Don't forget, you get a 15% discount today on the food court. You generate a bigger interest for the pass itself, and if they're happy, they tend to come back more. They'll think about coming back to Sentosa Island if there's something in it for them.
Just to check that your budget includes integration and outreach programs.
Yes, actually, I don't know if we can have a look at the budget. Yeah, here it is. So basically, the budget is made from the average salaries of system analysts and computer programmers in Singapore that were valid in 2010. Now, as we said, the phase 1 is only to clean the database, the CRM database, merge the existing data that is available in other databases, for example, the newsletter ones or the My Sentosa one, into the largest one. So we assume it's going to take about 3 months with regular salaries. Now for the phase 2, it's going to be a little bit longer because as the tax system is very closely integrated into Sentosa's operations, it takes a little bit more finesse, if I can say so, to make sure that the whole operation continue again and that there's no breakdown that would cause delays for the customers, for example. And now for the third phase, it actually, same thing with the salaries, and we included also the price to cover using Wi-Fi technology, an area of about 1 square mile, which is the amount that is still left to cover on Sentosa Island.
You started this presentation by saying that there's a perceived sense by the public that there is no value for the attractions. But you're addressing it through targeted marketing, which is a very narrow slice of that group. What about the larger public? How are you addressing the problem about poor value?
You're asking us about the bigger picture, right? So if we start, our main focus was to start with the locals because we have a bit more information about them, trying to target them and knowing they're half of the visitors. Now, once we get the analytics running, we get more information about, in general, anyone that downloads the app or anyone that has a general interest through Facebook or any page, we get to have more information. That way, we can target in a more mass way afterwards if we have more information.
I think the question a lot more on the locals, or probably talk a little bit more on the foreigners. Since you have shared that there's not investment in terms of putting into bringing up that, getting people to come, what is the strategy in terms of driving the return of the tourists? Because I guess from the ROI perspective, does it make sense just to drive one time in a visit to Sentosa, rather than look at how you can really drive the repeat visit to Sentosa, even for the tourists? I've not seen that, so would you like to elaborate that?
So how we can elaborate the repeat visits is that by offering something, reminding them that Sentosa Island is one of the top 5 destinations that are visited in the world. Now, knowing that if you're from Singapore, it's 15 minutes away. If you're a tourist, there's so much to do, why not spend a whole vacation there or come back every year and try something different? You have golf courses, specific attraction parks, you have the beach, many different activities. Now, the way to approach it would be to emphasize on so much diversity to create your own sort of experience, your own vacation. Every time you can create a different vacation that is mean for your own desires and what you want. So that would be the main focus for, let's say, a marketing campaign towards that to capture more attention.
So one of the basic challenge you are trying to address is to double membership and reduce attrition. So your first phase solution is mass marketing, social media campaign, change management. How do you link the two to say that by doing some of this thing, you are going to achieve the outcome?
Well, because this is all on the short run, and on the short run we don't have many times to relax. So we have to relax quick and fast. So by doing so, we'll make sure that the people in MRT station or all over Sentosa or Singapore seem interpelled by this ad for the targeted mass marketing. And then we will also link social media. So for example, when people go to Sentosa, they can post their pictures on their website and they can add their reference so we can see that they're enjoying Sentosa and what all the mini activities that they're doing there. By doing so, we get their visibility of Sentosa all over Singapore, and then they will gain a little bit more revenues, and people will be aware that the island is vast exists, and that they will maybe purchase it for next year.
Going back to the financial analysis, I know you have a breakdown of the capital expenditures to get your solution up and running. Do you have any analysis on what the additional operational expenditures are going to be moving forward?
Well, the operational fees would be actually recurrent fees such as the bandwidth. Now, I don't have the exact numbers with me, unfortunately, but the bandwidth would be, while being quite considerable, bandwidth is not that expensive, especially since most of the wireless at Singapore services are provided by Singtel and M1 and the other wireless carriers in Singapore. Moreover, it's a government initiative, so I suppose that the price would be even lower because it's subsidized by the IDA.
Follow on to that too, do you expect it to need additional people to support these changes that you put in? Because you're putting Wi-Fi right now, so do you have people on staff that can maintain those devices, or is that outsourced?
I would say, yeah, there would need to be some people taking care of the wireless at least once in a while.
Now, before we begin, could you identify your names to the judges?
We are the IT squad. My name is Karen.
And Charles.
All right, your time starts now.
Thank you. Now, this is a crisis situation we need to address. It's pretty straightforward. What we need to do first off, knowing who was working that day, we need to know who was working and get them tested just to make sure that everything is under control. Now, what we also need to do is stay alert as to what the government will release. We're not sure yet if they will release any statement concerning the infection of the flu. Now, if they do, Sentosa Island should follow with, like the government, and release a press release as well to inform them. Stay accurate, give the information, but not too much. Now, Sentosa being the size that they are, they can't really hide or keep information from the people because it loses credibility. Now, what we need to do is, knowing that the patient was with a large group, they seem to have been tested as well and not been detected as positive. So this is a good thing that we need to focus on. We also need to focus on the fact that the patient, we don't know the origin. It doesn't mean that the infection was from Sentosa, so we need to focus on that point to make sure that we know that it might not have come from there. What we can also do is limit the access to the preserved forests for the birds and all of that. And what we also need to do is probably cancel the bird show, but not any other of the events. Stay alert if ever something else unnormal arises. Then in that case, we can adjust the situation and maybe consider reducing the number of people we allow on site. But for now, we don't think it is very necessary. Finally, what we can do is on site offer more sanitary solutions, more hand sanitizer, the body sensor detection options we can test to make sure that people that access the site can be tested to see for symptoms and whatnot. So this is the main solution.
Thank you. Judges, questions please.
How did you find out who are the people who came in contact with the infected person?
Well, it depends on the category of person. Employee-wise, we know pretty much where the visitor has made the attraction that he's done, the time he was in the Sentosa Express. So as the employee list and the employee schedule for this day is available, we can at least pinpoint these employees, test them, test their family and their entourage to make sure that they are still healthy, or if they are not, take the appropriate. Yeah, exactly. And for those who are using the pass, for those who are in the pass, well, they can actually be identified because in the system we have a picture and basic information about these visitors. So if we realize that some visitors are using the Islander pass were there at this time, we can find them and do the appropriate things to make sure that they're not infected.
Earlier in your proposal, you all mentioned about social media campaign. So how do you see the situation? Would that be a campaign? How would you run a campaign on this?
Well, if we release a press release, we can also share it on our webpage, also as well as on the Facebook account, on Twitter account, just to know everybody on time that what's going on, and to reassure them that there is nothing really dangerous now, because there is no human-to-human transmission, and make everybody sure that they're safe, and if they were visiting the Sentosa Island during these periods, that they can get tested to make sure that everything's good.
You mentioned that you would wait for the government before you said anything. Why would you do that?
Well, we want to make sure of what is exactly happening. We don't want to get too pushy on that, because that would actually create some sentiment of fear, and we would, Sentosa would probably lose some of the trust that the people of Singapore and the people around the world have for it. On the other hand, if we wait too much, that means we wait for the government and then we wait again to do our own test, then that might be, it's still time critical, it's still a public health issue, so that would be too far. And there could be more problems, more infections attached to that.